Hello, gay men. Welcome to Coming Inside Out. I am your host, Brian James, along with my co host, Mark Dembo. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. It's good to
Good. I
see you.
know
It's
you too.
been a
Yeah.
couple weeks, but
Yeah,
a lot has gone on.
it's been a
A
busy
lot
time
happening.
and
Yes.
it's been a challenge coordinating our schedules, but here we are and we're glad to be back with another episode today.
Yes. East
Yeah.
Coast, West Coast.
Exactly. Yes, indeed. And you can tell it's getting cooler here as I've got the sweaters out. Yeah. Finally,
Yes.
this past weekend, I finally was like, all right, it's time to put the summer clothes away and get the fall and winter clothes out just in
Well, you're
time.
going to have a true winter in Southern California. It's still 74 degrees here, and so I never put my summer clothes away.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, you're in Southern California.
Yes. So, Mark, tell me what's been going on with you the last couple weeks, buddy.
As it's been busy. I've had some travel for work. And just continuing to get settled into my life. And one of the things I really find, and I know I've said this before, but sometimes I take that step back and I look at my life, and um not always unicorns and daisies, as they say, um but sometimes it is amazing to realize how much my life has changed in the past few years. And even with all the challenges and difficulties, um, it is so wonderful to know that, oh my God, I'm living the life of who I am and who I have always been meant to be. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah. How
I
about
mean,
you?
for some of the
So
listeners that don't know a lot of your backstory, I mean, this is new for you. You recently moved out on your own. You are
yeah,
recently in your own apartment. You're recently living the
yeah.
life that
Just
you had.
about 6 months since
Yeah.
I moved in here, um, and every day it just it feels more and more normal. Finally got some artwork up on the walls. I mean, it's hard to tell
Right.
from here, but my living room and in the hallway, more to do. But it's it feels more and more like home. So it's
Yes. I think
yeah.
we're both recording from our spare bedrooms. So it's
I'm
like,
in my home office slash spare bedroom.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
yeah,
Wow.
and slash recording studio. Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, me too.
exactly.
Oh,
But hey, a lot has been going on, not only in our personal lives. Well, but what about you? What's happening in your life?
gosh, I have had, well, I'll tell you, uh, Halloween, I was going to go over to a family member's house, and my ex-wife reached out to me and asked me if I had time to get together and chat. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, absolutely. So she and I actually got together one on one, which doesn't happen that often. And we just sat in the car for like 2 hours and talked and had just a really great conversation. It was, was some about the boys, but then just really allowing me to share my life, what's going on with me, and her being allowed to share her life and what's going on with her. And it was just a new level of
Yeah,
vulnerability that we're getting
that's
back to,
nice.
which was super nice. And then
Good.
we had a phone conversation after that because we both had such a great time
Yeah,
with each other that
yeah.
at the end of the phone conversation, I said to her, okay, goodbye. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, that just brought
That's
me
great.
on the inside, that just brought me
Yeah,
home, just
yeah,
brought me back to, what I missed. And I
yeah.
kind of felt a connection with that. So it was really, I think, healing for me.
That's well, and I think the thing is, and this is something I've learned a lot. Love can be many different things, and love is not finite, right? So
Yes.
you can still feel that love for your ex-wife. I mean, that doesn't have to go
Yeah.
away just because you're living your life as a gay man and you're
Yes.
divorced, right? I
This
mean,
is a
it can,
woman that I fell in love with in
yeah,
my teens, that I was
yeah,
married to.
yeah.
I never hated her. I did never disliked her. Did we fall out of love sexually? Yes, but did my love ever
No,
stop for her? No, it
exactly.
was
Right.
tainted with anger and some resentment and some
Uh,
other stuff along the way.
yeah,
But
sure.
in the end, this is the woman that I loved
Yeah,
for over
yeah.
30 years. So, yeah.
That's great. And since you mentioned Halloween, I'll come back and talk a little bit about my Halloween in a minute because it was a little bit different than that.
Okay.
But, um, but on a similar vein to what you were just talking about with your ex, just this past weekend, I've talked about the fact that uh, my wife and I still have a very good relationship. We went out to a movie together this past weekend, and after that, we were sitting in my car for a bit and just kind of talking and catching up. And we were both really talking about how much our relationship has continued to evolve. That, you know, certainly, anger, resentment, difficulties. And in my case, I certainly it has been more difficult for her, which I think is
Yes.
oftentimes the case. But but she even recognized that she has come to see that, hey, when I tell her I love her, which I do, that's genuine. It's again, it's different. It doesn't mean that there's the sexual attraction, but I love her as a person, as a soulmate. There is a connection that will always be there, and we're continuing to evolve what that relationship looks like. We'll all be together for Thanksgiving
Yeah.
as a family, and it's just it's and look, I know not everybody has those situations, so I do want to acknowledge that. But it is wonderful, and it's helpful when you can really realize that those things, love can take many different forms, and again, it's not a finite quantity.
Yes. And Mark, we talked about this earlier for the people that aren't in communication with their families, because we see and hear a lot of that. And you and I were talking, and we were kind of discussing where we stand with that, or what we would do if that was the case with us, because we're blessed with it not being the case with both of us.
Yeah,
And when I see people write about that, or when I hear people talk about that, I always think to myself, if I was in that case, if I was in that situation, how would I respond? And this is not advice for anybody, but I would hopefully just continue to live authentically. And if
yeah,
authentically it was in my heart to continue to reach out to that person and write them a letter, send them
yeah,
a birthday card, or
yeah,
whatever, a Christmas
yeah,
card, would I do that? And if I didn't do that, would there be like resentment later on in life that I
mm-hmm,
didn't do that?
mm-hmm, yeah,
So for myself, it's like, even if I wasn't in contact with those people, I would continue to reach out to those people, because I
yeah,
wouldn't want to have
yeah.
regret
I
later
think
on in
that's
life about it.
that's a great point, and I'd say a great segue into the theme that I know we want to talk a little bit more about today, and that's the idea of how do we be intentional about designing our next chapter, right? Recognizing that, hey, we come out, and oftentimes that feels like, okay, I came out, but wait a minute, that story doesn't end there. It's the next chapter, and you and I were talking a bit about this before we hit the record button. We have two choices. It's, as I said before, it's not always going to be rainbows and unicorns and wonderful. It can be really, really hard for
Yes.
so many reasons, and we all know that. Anybody that has gone through this journey, I can't imagine. I've never met anybody that says, "Oh, everything was easy peasy, great," right?
No.
But we have two choices. One is to sit here and, be the victim and say, "Oh my God, all this is going to come down on me, and I'm miserable and curled up in a ball." Or we can say, "Wait a minute. Yep, there's a lot of hard shit here,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
have agency. I can choose how to respond. I can be intentional about the life I want to create." And again, I don't want to discount and say that doesn't just mean, oh, you snap your fingers and everything's great. But when you can start to say, hey, I can do things for the first time in my life to truly live who I am. And I don't mean do what you want and just go out and hook. I mean, if that's what you choose to do, that's fine. But I don't mean just that. It's about how you want to live your life. And
Yes.
to your point, I mean, absolutely, right? I mean, it can be hard. There are going to be kids that are going to say, "Oh my God, you betrayed us," or "You betrayed mom, and I don't want to have anything to do with you." I mean, we've both seen so many people where that's the case, and it's
Yes.
heartbreaking, right? Or spouses, ex-spouses, where the relationship, turns bitter and angry, and it's hard for them to get past it. But you have a choice,
Yes.
right?
100%. 100%. And along those same lines, every day you have these choices, and coming out isn't just a one-time thing. And we talk about, am I coming out at work? Am I coming out to friends? Am I coming out at a party? It's like you're constantly coming out. I find that it's not the coming out process. I had two back-to-back amazing conversations with my boys last week. I was with one of them for several hours. We had just one of the best conversations I've had with him. And then a couple days later, my other son was over, and he and I had just a great conversation. But it was like, in the conversations that I was having with them, in order to show up as my true, authentic self, I find that even some of the things I'm sharing are little bits and pieces of me coming out in the conversations, over and over and over with
Like
them. And it's like,
like what?
it's just you know, talking to my one son, because he is also gay, about dating, and just,
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation where, hey, are you dating? Are you seeing anybody? And him asking me that question, and part of my coming out is, I'm not talking about a woman, I'm not talking about his mother, I'm
Yeah.
talking about another man, I'm talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
same-sex attraction. And it's
Yeah.
like, so it's like, how, I'm not going to overshare with him, but
Sure.
it's
Sure. Yeah.
being vulnerable and continuing. A couple months ago, I was talking with my mother, and she was like, "Oh, you and your ex were so good together, blah, 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 blah. Do you miss that? Do you regret that?" And I said, "Oh, I miss it so much." And she said to me, "Oh, well, do you ever think about trying to get her back?" I was just like, "Mom, I'm gay."
Okay.
I sometimes think my parents forget, because,
Yeah.
I'm not out there every
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
demonstrating it to them. So
Right.
it's just
Right.
like, you
Yeah.
continue to come out
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. Yeah.
conversations. So,
It's interesting. Couple of thoughts on what you're saying. I mean, kind of similar, kind of you're constantly coming out, but then also thinking about, okay, being intentional about where I'm going. Similar with my kids over the last few weeks. Um, I decided, I have been like, look, I don't want to keep secrets. They've been able, and from the day I came out, have been very accepting. It was, Dad, we want you to be happy. Um, but when things start to get real, it okay, wait a minute. It occurred to me, hey, I'm seeing somebody. I have a boyfriend, and I was like, I need to tell them about this. And I did. I was with my one daughter, and I said, "Hey, just they knew that I had a friend who
Mm-hmm.
lived in a different city, and they may have put things together. But I said, I want you to know that we are seeing each other, and told each of them that, and um, I'm sure they're still processing some of it, but it again, kind of that next step. Okay, I can share this, and they start to, it starts to solidify, right, who you are
Yes.
and the life you're
Yes.
living. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And it's a level of vulnerability that you have
yes,
to get to with them. And
yeah,
it's
yeah. Because I honestly, I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit scared.
yes.
Not knowing, both of them said, and I wasn't able to tell them together. It was just kind of two separate occasions. And both of them said in their own way, well, we knew that would happen at some point, right? But I was still nervous, like thinking, oh my God, what are they gonna think? And even
Yeah.
telling my ex, this is, I'm seeing somebody. And that was difficult, but we worked through it again because she saw, hey, doesn't mean that I'm cutting her out of my life. It doesn't change anything that I've said about how I feel about her
Yeah.
and her importance in my life. But it's part about saying, for me, right, when I think about, okay, the life I'm designing, the life I want to live, it's about being true to myself and
Yes.
being open
Yes.
and transparent and continually reminding myself I've got to break those old patterns. The people pleasing starts to come in. The conflict
Yes.
avoidance starts to come in.
Yes.
Oh, you might ruffle some feathers. People might. I was like, I can't do that if I'm going to live my best life.
Yes.
It's you can't do it.
Well, I wrote this down, and this goes along with us talking to our families and us sharing these experiences. And I heard this on a podcast actually, and the person said, "Unhealed people do not listen with their ears; they listen with their triggers."
Hmm.
So we're having these
I wasn't thinking that through a gay
conversations.
lens. I was gonna say they think through with their dicks, but
No, yes. In having conversations, if somebody is, explosive because you're sharing your authenticity with them, they're not listening with their ears. They're listening, with
right.
their wounds, with their triggers. So
Yeah.
it's like you and I are fortunate in that these processes, at least for me, it's been a very slow process because I'm almost 6 years into this. I still haven't started to date yet, but it's like every day I'm taking a step in a direction to kind of heal myself and still be true to myself and unwind and untangle everything that I had conditioned myself to be and do until the age of 50.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, Brian, because there is no timeline for the transition. It's everybody's going to be on their own timeline and taking things at the pace that is right for you, because there's both the healing part and there's the creating part, and I don't think it's a linear. I was gonna say not a straight path, certainly,
yes,
but it's not a linear path, right? It's
yes.
you can start to say, well, what steps do I want to take? What do I want to date? What does that look like? What am I looking for? What small steps can I take? Doesn't mean that the healing is done.
No. It's, growth is in movement. So as long as I continue to move forward, I am growing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So how do you try and move forward each day?
I have said this before. I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of meditating. I listen to a couple different people just to be inspired. And I just try and have real conversations. It's not in me to have superficial conversations with people anymore, and it's been sad to let a lot of people go in my life because
Yeah.
I feel hijacked sometimes in conversations with people, and like there's this screamingness inside of my head. It's like I don't want to listen to this, or I don't want to be here. And so it's kind of like I'm avoiding those people. I'm moving away from those people because if you aren't going to be vulnerable with me and share, and not everybody every time in every situation wants to be that way. I totally get that. If I'm in a
Yeah.
bar, you can't be that way. But if I'm having a conversation with you, you know, I don't want to hear about the weather.
Hmm. At
you
least
know,
not for not for an hour, right?
yes, yes. So,
Yeah. So how do you move past those kinds of situations?
well, for me, I kind of cut people out of my life. I've shared that before, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
probably not the best, healthiest way to deal with it. But, these are people that were once in my life that no longer, I don't know, I don't resonate with them. And I just move away from them. uh, am I ghosting? I don't think I'm ghosting, but at the exact same time, I'm not putting any effort or energy into those relationships anymore. And
Hmm.
I have shared this before. I have such a rich community in my local gay fathers group. The best people to ever be in my life are
Yeah.
the men that are in my life today, because we have so much in common. And it's
Yep.
not a baseball team, or it's not, where we work. It's the frickin' life struggle that we lived and where we are at today with it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. It lends itself to more genuine conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that a lot of guys in our situation struggle with, and I actually, you know what, I'm gonna caveat what I'm saying. It's not just guys like us that have come out later in life, been married, that struggle with this. I think a lot of gay men struggle with, I don't want to overgeneralize, but the superficiality that can exist in gay culture.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And at the end of the day, I truly believe, you know what? Everybody is just looking for connection.
Yeah.
And for so many of us, regardless of when you've come out in life, being gay has taught us you're less than, you don't belong. And you see, and we've talked about this, books like The Velvet Rage talk a lot about this. There's this overcompensation, right? You got to be totally jacked. You got to be perfect. You've got to have all the right things. And that can make it really daunting to say, how do I step into this? How do I
Yes.
find my space? And I know we've talked about this, but it is one of the wonderful things about having that network of other men that have been in our situation.
Mhm.
There's a common ground that we're starting from.
Yes. It's interesting because the superficialness that you speak about in the gay community, that was my shield, that was my armor when I was living my heterosexual life. I needed to have this superficialness around me to protect and hide what was actually going on inside of me. So I
Yeah.
was all about the exterior when I was closeted.
So
And
say
now
more
that
about
I'm
that.
no, what's that?
Say more about that. Like, what did that look like?
Well,
How did that show up?
I had to dress. I worked in insurance for 26 years. I wore a suit to work, but I dressed impeccably because you know, that was my shield of armor. If, I was going into a meeting, I had to know everything. If I was, I just had to be in such control. And on the
Mm-hmm.
outside, I had to look like I had it all together because
Yep.
I was so worried that someone was going to figure me out or see something that I was hiding on the
Yeah.
inside. I'm
Yeah.
just the opposite. Now I come out as gay. I want to look good, but I want to look good for myself. I want to be healthy and exercise, but I want to do that for myself. I'm not doing that because I'm living in a superficial community. I'm doing that because for the first time in my life, I don't have to hide who I am. I was hiding who I was
Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
30 years.
Yep.
So it's just the
Yep.
opposite for me. I like I don't know. I'm not about the superficialness in the gay community.
No, but do you think that does that give you any hesitation, or in what ways does that make it harder? Does it for you?
Does it make it harder for me that I'm not living
That you
superficially?
that yeah, let me rephrase my
All
question.
right.
Does it does it does it make it harder because that superficiality in the gay community can exist and you don't want to be a part of that? Does
Mm,
that sometimes could that put
oh,
up a barrier to say, well, wait a minute, I don't know how to enter this world because I don't want to be that?
um, so I actually had something written down here, and I don't even know if I'm going to find it, but I'm going to stumble through it and say I am spending all of my time and energy working on being a better version of me that I don't
Yeah,
have time to focus on anybody else. So
that's
I
yeah,
am not worried about the other people. I'm worried about the causes. I'm worried about the gay
sure,
community and, gay marriage and
yeah,
our rights, but I don't have time to judge another person. I don't have time to look down on somebody or something
yeah.
else because I'm spending my waking moments working on myself.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I would say for me, um, it is for me. Again, kind of coming back to our theme of being intentional and designing our next chapter. I know that to some extent is something I do still struggle with.
Mm.
Is letting go of the fear of what other people are going to think about me.
Oh, all right. Think about you
Again, it's
because
that
you're think about you because you're gay, or
no,
think
not
about you
because I'm
for
no, no.
other
I'm talking about
reasons.
within the gay community. No, I'm talking about
Oh.
now. It's like I find sometimes I've shifted. Um, I'll say kind of those insecurities,
Hmm.
right, or that tendency to want to be
Yes.
liked, to want to show up in a certain way. Shifted it from before it was hiding who I was from the rest of the world, lest I be found out that I'm gay. Now I find sometimes that it's oh um I need to fit in into the gay community. So am I acting gay enough? Am I
Hmm.
looking gay enough? Will I be rejected because I'm coming out later in life, or because I don't have a picture perfect body? Or so I find sometimes I still work on, wait a minute, let go of those things,
Hmm.
let go of those things.
Well,
And
you were holding on to something. You hit the reset button with it when you came out, and you filled it with something else, right?
yeah,
Your mindset of what you were able to let go of once you came out, you're filling it with what's going on in the gay community and the superficialness of what's going on in the gay community. If you're able to let that go and fill that with something else, it
right.
will help you move
Yeah,
forward that much more.
the
But
interesting
I
thing is
get
when
it.
I
I
do
get
take
it.
that step back, I do realize, wait a minute, I have a network of close gay male friends now, most but not all of them who are gay dads like us that I feel closer to, have real relationships with, that I can be vulnerable with, than I ever had before. So, so sometimes it's a matter of kind of, thinking about how do I be intentional about the life I want. Sometimes it's recognizing, wait a minute, some of this already exists,
Yes.
it's there. It's like, wait a minute, I've got a group of friends that I never had before. Is it perfect? No. Are there days, are there nights when I'm here alone in my own place thinking, oh, I'm all alone? And then I'm like, idiot, look around you,
Yeah.
right? It's like, look at the network that you have. Look at the people that
Mhm.
would be there for you in an instant, recognizing that there is that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that happened because I was purposeful in a lot of ways. I was intentional about saying, I want to build that network. So I immersed myself in ways to meet people.
Yeah.
And not just about, romantically or looking for a hookup, but ways to just connect with the gay community, and with other gay people.
Yeah. I wanted to connect with these men that were walking my same path. I,
Yeah.
I wanted to hear their stories. I wanted to, I don't know. I wanted the support. I wanted the connection. And I find
Mm-hmm.
that for me, I get so much more of that connection from a fellow gay father than I do from some 30-year
Yeah.
old, that I meet at a bar that their longest relationship was 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, and you know what? My comment on that, I agree with you in terms of looking for, let's say, a romantic relationship. Um, but I will also say I have met a number of younger gay guys that I've become friends with that have a very different view, came out earlier in life, different generation. And you know what? I learn a lot from these guys. And look, there are some that, again, it's just the total superficiality. But the other thing I find, even people I've met where at first it seems like, oh, this is just another, you know, superficial gay out for the party. If you get to know them and you start talking, they share a lot of the same fears, the same uncertainties as we do.
Yes.
And I just constantly remind myself of that too, and realize, hey, the shit that we deal with, the fears, the uncertainties, the unknowns, it's universal in the LGBTQ community.
I agree. I agree with that. Mm.
But at least another one really strong positive, when we talk about building relationships, that the Supreme Court has declined to hear the case to overturn uh, same-sex marriage. So that was an
Yes.
exciting development in an
Yes.
otherwise
It
crazy
was
political
so
landscape.
it was so sad that it was even
Yeah,
happening. But
yeah,
that's where we're at right now, which is, I don't know, it's heartbreaking. Hey, I want
it
to
is.
take a moment. I'm going to pitch this book that I told you about. My younger son that went into the Marine Corps, when he left, he gave me this book. Dad, I want to hear your story, a father's guide and journal to sharing his life and his love. This book for anybody, and this also for anybody who, is not even in contact with their children right now. I journal in this. It asks you all kinds of questions. It asks you questions as a teenager, what your favorite movie was, what your favorite book was, how it felt becoming a dad. It just is all kinds of stuff in here. This book is, I kind of am in tears when I write in it, but at some point in time, I'm going to give that to my boys, and it's gonna live on long past me.
Yeah.
So I thought
Yeah.
anybody who's looking to keep in contact one way or another with their family, children, that's could be a good way to
So, so
do
that's
that.
it's a journal
It's a journal.
essentially.
Yeah,
Is that?
it's a
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Okay.
it's I
Yeah.
don't know, it's like 100 pages or something like that, and yeah, you just write in it, and it's just you know, at some point in time, your kids are going to read it. They're going to find out things that maybe you never shared with them.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
And your son gave that to you.
my son did. Yeah.
You said that. So
Yes.
have you shared any of your journaling with him at this point or
I
not yet?
have. I have. You know, so my younger son, 19, he's in the Marine Corps. Um, I want to be there for him. He has a girlfriend right now, and I'm not looking to load him up with advice. I'm at, the stage of my life where I just want to hear him. I just want to be a safe person for him to
Yeah.
share with. And some of the things that he'll tell me about, maybe I'll relate them to, okay, when I was 22 years old or whatever, and I was dating, what did it look like for me, what was the dynamic between myself and my wife, my girlfriend at the time that became my wife. So I listened to him, but again, here infusing a little bit of my coming out in the conversation. I said to him, hey, listen, have you watched the Netflix series Boots? Have you watched
Yeah.
that yet?
Yeah. Which I
Okay, and
just
it's like,
finished that. Yeah. I
okay,
just
it's
finished it. Yeah. Yeah.
it's me, kind of once again putting myself out there, and, vulnerably that, I'm gay, and, I'm watching this gay series on Netflix. And he's like, oh, yeah, actually, a bunch of them watched it because they wanted to see it, how it was, if it was, how real it was, the
Yeah.
different like agility courses and all the different stuff and the
Right.
the
Right.
boot
Yeah.
camp and
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted to watch it.
Right.
But yeah, so I have shared some of it with him. But when I'm done with it, it's
Yeah.
not something I'm going to do in a week or probably even in a year. It's going to take
Right.
me
Yeah.
a long time
Yeah.
to get through it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do share some of that.
Yeah. Could even be good prompts for just discussion, right? I mean, it's great for the
Yes.
journaling, but
Absolutely. Because one of the things in here, because for the most part, if you're a dad and you have kids, you were married at some point in time. So it does ask about when you fell in love with mom and, stuff like that. So eh, one of my kids asked me, were you ever really in love with mom? And I was like, oh my God, of course I was, for my kids to wonder if,
yeah,
everything was false. There was truth to my life.
sure.
It's yes. So I do share that. Yeah.
Great. So what do you see when you think about where things are now and coming back to the idea of how do we design our life and be intentional about our next steps? What's top of mind for you?
What's top of mind? Well, I'm going to throw that back on you. I'm going to ask you that question first.
Damn. I was hoping then I'd get some idea. Oh man, turn that around.
Yes, exactly. 100%. You wrote it down.
uh, you know, I think for me, it it comes down to continuing to recognize the things in the past that have held me back, that have kept me hidden, that have scared me, and saying, look, not like that goes away. Those voices, you can't turn those off. But I work every day to get better and better at knowing when those voices start to say, wait a minute, I've got an option here. I can tune into them and say, oh, wait a minute, Mark, don't go to that event. Don't do this because it's too scary. I have that choice to say, I'm listening to that or I'm not listening to that. And to say, so when I think about my intention for my life, it's to continue to build my circle of gay friends, to continue to integrate my past, current, and future identities, if you will, into one. And recognizing that I have that ability to choose what I listen to and what I don't. So I think for me, that's really key, continuing to get stronger and stronger at that.
Yes. My intention is to be of service. I just feel such a need to be of service to this community, and I feel a need to be of service to anybody struggling with their sexuality, anybody who needs somebody to lean on, somebody to talk to, something to listen to, this
Yeah.
podcast. I really, I've said this before, I don't think I wouldn't have done anything any differently than I did. I waited until I was 50 years old to come out. I waited until I was divorced. I wouldn't have done it any differently, because I didn't know differently. One, I didn't, as much as I struggled with it in my head, I didn't know differently. If I can be a voice for another person that's struggling with that, and not to
Yeah.
say that they're going to choose to come out at 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, but when they decide to come out, I think it's important that they know that they're not alone, and they know that there's a support
Yeah.
group out there, and they know that they're not bad, they're not broken, they're not
Right.
doing
Right.
this to
Absolutely.
somebody else, they're not doing this to anybody else, they're doing this for themselves. And you can come out at any age. I had a
Absolutely.
real estate client that very recently I found out they're 79 and 82. They're getting a divorce. It's never too late, right? It's never too late. I was
Hey,
shocked.
I know a guy who came out at the age of 80.
Yes,
It's never too
yes.
late.
Never too late.
It's never ever too late. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. And don't have
Wow.
regrets. My goodness.
S-
Regrets are you're living in the past. It's like I don't want to live in my past.
No. No.
I want
Right.
to live in the
I
moment.
can't exactly. I can't have regrets because I can't rewrite the past.
Yes.
And I don't have regrets because I there's no point in it. There's, I mean, I'm sure we all spend time thinking about, well, what if this, what if that? But you know what? Look at what I wouldn't have if I had made different decisions.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
I always say when I look at anything, one of the things I've learned, when I look at anything in life that hasn't gone as it is, or even when things have gone well, it's like, look, you make the decisions at the time when you make them with the best information you have at that time. And there's so many things that go into that, right? And
Yes.
look, if we could live our lives backwards with the acknowledged wisdom and experience that we have, maybe things would turn out differently. But I think too, when I kind of come back and think about designing that next chapter, it's about never stop learning, never stop being curious about things, and taking those chances. I'll come back to, you started talking about Halloween, and I said I had a little bit of a different experience on Halloween. So as you may know, Halloween in New York City, especially in the gay community, I mean, Halloween is like the gay Christmas. It is
All
huge.
right.
Everybody's out.
Yes.
There's the big Halloween parade down in Greenwich Village. It's a big, everybody goes out, everybody parties, and I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people. And I've never experienced that before. So I was talking to some friends of mine, and they were like, "Hey, we're going out here. We're going to go to some different bars. Do you want to come?" And at first, I was like, "Yeah, I've never been into." I was like, "You know what? I've got to go and experience Halloween night in New York City at least once." And so I went to the costume store. It was literally Halloween day. I'm like, what am I going to find? What's left? And I found this great lumberjack shirt that was it was from Dick's Morning Wood.
Okay. Oh, that's
Like,
hilarious.
we'll get you your morning wood. It was like, so I went, as dressed up as this lumberjack, um, and we went to some bars and ended up at the Eagle in New York City, which I have never been to. It is
Oh,
iconic
wow. Okay.
gay club, and I've been to a lot of the gay bars in the city, but I've never been to the Eagle. And another case in point here, we talk about feeling like we're so late to the party and coming out. So I was out with friends of mine who, um, not a group of gay dads, guys that are for the most part were younger than me, but one of them, he's been out most of his adult life. He'd never been to the Eagle either. And here I was thinking, oh, I must be the only person. So, and the Eagle's a lot of fun. There was a lot of dancing, and there's a lot of other stuff that goes on there and in the back room. It was absolutely packed, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm glad I did that.
Good.
And again, I was like, yeah, if you would have told me, 2 years ago, this is what I'd be doing on Halloween night, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But
Well, good for
glad I
you.
did it.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. So it
Mhm.
was a lot of fun. Closing.
Here's what I would like to leave the listeners with, or anybody who's struggling. When I was a closeted gay man, I felt like in life I was tethered. And now that I have come out as gay for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm anchored. And there's such a huge
Yeah.
difference with that because as
Yeah.
being tethered, it was like I was just blowing in the wind. I was a people pleaser. I was just kind of like flowing and trying to, like I've said in the past, uh, keep myself off the radar of, anybody finding out about me. And to be 56 years old and just feel planted and anchored in who I am feels
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Uh, Definitely, I feel more and more of that every day. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Mark. Well, thank you. Anything else you wanted to bring up or put out there? Oh,
Just to remind our listeners that we would love to hear from you. What's resonating, things that you'd love to hear us talk more about. You can write to us at cominginsideout@gmail.com. And you can find us also on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course on your
YouTube.
favorite podcast platform.
Oh,
So please like us, give us ratings, leave comments, because we do this for all you guys. So,
yeah.
and we do it for ourselves
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
I always get a lot out of having these conversations with you.
Yes.
So,
Me too. All right, Mark. I will see
all
you soon.
right. Well,
All right.
till next time.
All
All
right.
right, Brian.
Thank you. All
Bye.
right.